Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Exposed Turnbuckle channel. I'm Patrick, this is Jeff, and we are here to give our post thoughts on WrestleMania 33.
Initial thought, it was long.
Yeah,
Very
7 hours
long.
and 11
It is
minutes.
12:12 on the East Coast right now, and I am struggling. That's why you will see me drinking this amp.
I went through 3
He's
amp
got a few.
drinks.
So, just to make this video for you guys, we'll sleep when we're dead, right? So we're gonna just go right to the start here. The very first match, if you remember, was the WWE Cruiserweight Championship match between Neville and Austin Aries. Neville ended up winning this one with the eye rake of Austin Aries, that injured eye, and ended up hitting the red arrow for the win. I thought this was a really good match. I don't think it was as great as I originally thought it might be in the prediction video that I filmed. I thought they could have done more, but in the pre-show, first off, the crowd was there, which is last year it wasn't. It was pretty empty, so that's a good thing. I think that speaks to the level of their ability that they were able to get the crowd there for the 5 o'clock match. I thought it was a really good match, though. A little surprised with Neville winning. I know he picked Neville to win. But at the same time, I understand it. He'll still feud with Austin Aries because really there's no one else credible. I gave the match a B. I thought it was really good, and Aries will still feud with Neville. What did you think, Patrick?
I thought it was really good. I thought there was a lot of back and forth action. I think both guys bring great intensity to the match. A couple of good spots was Neville went for a 450 corkscrew. He missed, but the fact that he even did it is always nice to watch. It was a lot of back and forth. Aries was really building up momentum towards the end of the match, and right when it was about to be over, Neville changes it up and then gouges Aries' eye and then ultimately hits his red arrow finish, and that's your match. It ultimately keeps Aries strong because Neville had to resort to heel tactics to keep him down. And I think that this could be a good rivalry. My initial thought was I don't think that Neville could lose this match because Aries just came up. You know, Neville's been running through everybody, so you can't just have Aries come and go over on Neville. I think that he's going to try a couple of times, and then he's going to end up capturing the belt. Maybe possibly a SummerSlam spot, but I think it's just a little bit too much. It will happen, just not right now.
I agree that it will happen. Probably sooner than SummerSlam. I think that's a long build because that's in August. I think he'll win it before then, probably on more of a minor pay-per-view. But overall, I liked it. What did you grade that match?
I gave it a B plus. I really didn't think that there were any lulls in the match. It was very high paced. The emotion and the storyline was good. I did enjoy the ending. Neville resorting to heel tactics to keep Aries down, and I think it really can build into a meaningful feud that people will get into. And the cruiserweights do need a little bit more exposure, so I think that this could be one of those marquee feuds that helps build the cruiserweight division overall.
No, I agree with that. I'm hoping while they feud, you can see some more cruiserweights kind of step up to add more credibility and more challengers for Neville's title. So we're going to move on to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So the winner of this was Mojo Rawley, eliminating Jinder Mahal. And if you told me those were going to be the final two on Friday, I would have told you were high. This was just absolutely a cluster with appearances from Gronkowski, Braun Strowman, and Big Show were both eliminated by like 12 different people each. After they eliminated all the tag teams and jobbers, and it was just a million people in the ring, and there was really no way to kind of keep track until it got to like the final six. Once it got down there, I kind of thought Zayn was a popular pick, and then he got eliminated. So pretty much each time I picked a new person, he got eliminated. So I apologize to those men for that kiss of death. Once it started going, I thought Mojo Rawley was actually a pretty good choice because this match should be something that you build new stars. With Ryder out for a while, it gives Mojo Rawley something, and hopefully they can kind of build to something. Pat, I know you did mention a potential feud for Mojo Rawley in this one.
I think it personally ties into a good Ziggler feud. Mojo Rawley's going to need a good worker, and Ziggler, as we know, he's a great sell. They had that promo where Mojo never really had his moments, and pretty much the whole match, Ziggler was roaming around the ropes, dangling his feet, near execution style. And at one point, I think what originally was supposed to happen is Mojo was supposed to shoulder tackle Ziggler over the ropes. It kind of looked awkward that the way that Ziggler fell into the ropes, it kind of looked like he was supposed to go over, but maybe he was too far away from the ropes. And then Mojo essentially just angrily grabs Ziggler and physically removes him, which I think will build up nicely into a Ziggler. Uh,
Mojo.
I think. Sorry,
it's a long night. It's a long night. I got you.
It is so late.
We pick each other up.
So I think it will help. Ziggler can put on a good promo. He's already a heel. He will definitely be able to put over Mojo. I don't see any reason why Ziggler would go over on Mojo, and I think it will only make Mojo more credible as he moves forward. Overall, I would give that match a C plus. A couple of spots were good. Strowman and the Big Show did face off, and it took 5+ guys to eliminate Strowman, so it did keep him strong. And I was wondering how he was going to lose without losing his credibility. And I think that if it takes all of the ring to get you out, you're still a big deal. So it gives Mojo his moment. It tied in great with Gronk on the outside. Gronk came in, they had a football moment, and just an overall nice moment for Mania.
You know how WWE loves involving celebrities in WrestleMania, so it was a good way to do it. I gave it a C minus. I just hated the Battle Royal in general, just because of how many people. I actually wrote down while I was watching. I thought of an idea where they should really make this more of a invitational type Battle Royal instead of, hey, everyone who's doesn't have a match, come on in. Especially tag teams, which I didn't agree that the tag team should have been in it in the first place, but that's a whole nother story. I would like to see like qualifiers on Raw and SmackDown and NXT, meaningful matches on TV for this Battle Royal, and make it more of a prestigious type thing where you have to earn your way in, and then maybe have like 15 people instead of 30 people in a Battle Royal. Something that's a little more meaningful. I think that would add to it a little bit. Either way, I just thought it was a cluster, and I'm not really a huge fan of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
It doesn't really prove anything. It gives an undercard superstar. It gives them their moment, but ultimately doesn't mean anything.
It's Royal Rumble Junior. That's really what it is, and I think that you need to make it a little more prestigious for WrestleMania, and that's my idea. They probably won't ever do it, but you can also add, because Killian Dane was in this from Sanity, and he actually lasted pretty long. He was, I believe, the second to last eliminated.
Yeah, I think he was in the final 3.
So I think you could add qualifying matches on NXT to get into that, which adds meaningful matches on all the shows, and then you can see exposure for those NXT guys on the big show. So that's just my thought. I think I gave it a C minus. It's nothing special. Now, the women's match from SmackDown got moved, and replacing it was the WWE Intercontinental Championship match between Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin. This one went to Dean Ambrose after reversing an End of Days into the Dirty Deeds, which is a pretty good spot. After Baron Corbin was kind of trash talking him a little bit, saying he's going to ruin Dean Ambrose or destroy Dean Ambrose. It was decent. It wasn't anything special. Kind of went with the build of the entire match, which wasn't too special. I think it was the wrong decision. I think Baron Corbin should have won. You have to put over the younger guys, and Ambrose with the title just hasn't done anything that's been that special. I think Baron Corbin's on his way to being a main event talent, and I think giving him the IC title would have been better. Since The Miz lost it, the IC title's kind of been relegated to meaningless, which is a little disappointing. So I think a change would have been better. I don't expect Ambrose holding on to this belt for a long time. But overall, I gave the match a C. It was an average match. What do you think?
this is pretty much was your standard Dean Ambrose match. He put in all of his signature moves. You had the between the ropes clothesline. You had the flying elbow and the dirty deeds for the win, but it really just doesn't make sense. I mean, throughout this whole feud, Corbin was literally destroying this dude.
Mhm.
And throughout the whole match, aside from a couple of signature moves by Ambrose, Corbin was destroying him the whole match. And all of a sudden, he reverses an end of days into a dirty deeds and he just gets the win. It just seemed like it didn't seem like a very well thought out ending, and maybe they didn't have a feud lined up for Corbin, so they didn't want to give it to him, so they just kept it with the big name. And Ambrose is still over. He still gets quite the pop when he comes out. He does his crazy man tongue to everybody. Everyone still gets up for that. Corbin gets a response, but maybe he's not as over as they want him to be. So maybe they're just waiting until he has more of a following before they push him up to that title. So Ambrose can entertain another feud and keep the title somewhat relevant and in the eyes of everyone. Because like Jeff said, after the Miz gave it up, there really hasn't been too much going on. I mean, Ambrose and Corbin weren't even on the Go Home show, so that pretty much tells you what they think about this title at the moment.
Yeah, they
So.
were on Talking Smack to further it, which is such that airs at like 11. That's such a weird way to make them on the Go Home show. But you could see Corbin getting a rematch and then winning it on a SmackDown or something, or a different pay per view. I could see that, but either way, I just wasn't overly impressed. There was a pretty nasty spot with Dean Ambrose sliding back first into the ring post. I saw that and I was like, "Damn, that's gotta hurt." So I don't know. That looked nasty, but
He's probably trying to make up for the Lesnar match from the previous WrestleManias. And
well, he went
yeah,
from
that
fighting Lesnar to the pre-show, so it's not. It's been a weird year for Dean Ambrose.
the end of the turnbuckle spot that was pretty vicious. It looked
Yeah,
like he definitely went off that hard and he sold it well.
Renee Young's gonna have to massage that later.
He does a good job. It was just there was no reason for him to hold on to it anymore because he's not progressing and he's just kind of maintaining it. So I feel like you could have just thrown it to Corbin and you could have seen where he would have ran with it. But ultimately, I think that Ambrose's run won't continue too much
What was your
longer.
grade on that one?
I give it a C.
See, same as me. Yeah.
It was standard, Ambrose. It was literally your standard Ambrose match. He was getting beat down. He does a signature move, and then he gets the dirty deeds for the win. Nothing too special. Both of their styles are a lot alike. Very methodical. Not a lot of high flying. I'm really not a fan of the Ambrose flying elbow. The standing elbow. I mean, come on, bro.
I kind of like it. It's different, so I don't mind it. But anyway, going off the kickoff show, we're now on the main card. The very first match was AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon, which surprised me a little bit that it went first. AJ Styles won with the phenomenal forearm after, in my opinion, the match of the night. This match, everyone was a little worrisome. I thought it was going to be pretty good because I've seen Shane McMahon wrestle against Kurt Angle before he got suplexed into the entrance there like 4 times. But they did a spot where the ref got knocked out, and then you kind of knew, like, oh, here comes the typical Shane McMahon match. Now it's about to get really exciting. And also them going first, you kind of knew that's the spot where they put the matches that get the people pumped up. So I was looking forward to it, and Shane McMahon, man, he brought it. I thought he really brought it. There was a lot of submissions, and one of my favorite spots was Styles getting the calf crusher and Shane reversing it into, I believe it was a rear naked choke, and then he got into an arm bar, and then he got into the omoplata. Really, it was really well done. And then there was also a spot where Styles went for a springboard 450 right into a triangle choke. And then obviously you had these coast to coasts, and the fact that you can still do that is incredible. They had me glued to the TV for that entire match. I thought that was definitely the match of the night. Both guys just absolutely brought it. I gave it an A, just flat out A. it was awesome for me. How about you?
I did enjoy it. I had my doubts going in, seeing as how it was a traditional match, but they got both spots in. They got the elbow on the table in,
Hmm.
and they got the coast to coast. And I would have personally loved to see Styles have hit that coast to coast. I think that place would have fucking erupted
Yeah.
if he had hit that move. But overall, like, Shane McMahon really impressed. His mixed martial arts knowledge is quite up there. He knew how to strike. He was definitely on point with his grapples and submissions. And at first, Styles, he was he was pacing around the ropes. He did not want to do a straight up street fight brawl. He challenged Shane to grapple and to wrestle with him. And I think Shane really stepped up in that aspect. I think everyone really slept on his wrestling skills, me included. You
Not
know,
me. I said it was gonna be good. Just pointing that out.
I personally just think that
I'm a
Shane
McMahon.
is what it
I don't
is.
care.
He's a gimmick grabber. He has the coast to coast and the elbow, and it's always cool to see. But I did think that it was interesting that Styles did come down in blue and red colors, possibly
He's a
teasing
free agent.
the Raw.
He's a free agent.
The transfer to the Raw may be on the rise for the phenomenal
I
one.
think it might be in Shane's contract that he has to miss an elbow through an announce table too, because I feel like he does that in every match. But
Yeah, that man is ageless. On that coast to coast,
it's made of metal.
he could have cleared it for 3 more feet. I mean, that guy he does not get old. He ages so he trained so well for this match, and they really
He
put
was
on a
great.
great show.
I mean, you knew they were gonna put on a good match. Once you put a McMahon in a match, you know they're gonna put some attention to it. Shane made my last name proud. McMahon stepped up, so I gave it an A. What did you give it?
I gave it an A minus. I mean, I don't think there were
Was it
two.
your match of the night? Or do you have another one coming
It
up?
was up there. It was definitely up
Do you
there.
have another pick coming up?
I do.
You do? Okay.
I do have some other
Because there were a
ones that
couple
I
good
did
ones
enjoy.
there. There's a couple good ones.
I definitely enjoyed, but I definitely did enjoy this one. I wasn't too heavy into the storylines because I'm more of a fan. I would have liked to have seen Styles wrestle with a wrestler, but given under the circumstances, given the news that Shawn Michaels was supposedly given the job first, and then he turned it down. For Shane McMahon to save face and then to put on that performance, he just did a great
That
job.
was
And
great. Going on to the next one, we have the WWE United States Championship match between Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. Again, surprised me in the placement of this match. They're just leading the show off with just fire at this point. Owens, after a few close falls, wins with the apron powerbomb, throws him in the ring, and gets the United States Championship match. Kind of funny that we're both wearing Jericho and KO shirts, but it was a good match. I thought Jericho locked in the walls of Jericho early. Kevin Owens had the walls of Jericho at one point. I think he countered a code breaker to get to that walls of Jericho. And actually, Jericho countered the cannonball to get to the walls of Jericho. And I think that's the first time the cannonball has actually been reversed. And actually, KO did the cannonball on the apron right in the beginning of the match. They
great
did their
spot.
spot. Yeah, they did their spots. Kevin Owens didn't really have that like major spot that he pretty much has every pay per view, but it really wasn't one of those matches where he had to. I gave it a what did I give it? An A minus. Yeah, I gave it an A minus. I thought they did really great. There are a lot of close falls, near falls. They traded moves. They traded shots, like big time moves. I see it as it was one of the better build-ups, and then the match was really good and backed it up. I see a rematch coming up at the next pay-per-view, which I believe is Payback. And I see Kevin Owens just finishing it once and for all, and Jericho kind of going on his tour with Fozzy there. But I liked it. What did you think? And
I loved it. I mean, personally, if you watch my previous video, you would know that I am a big Kevin Owens fan. And Jeff was right. He did not do, typically in big matches, Kevin Owens will do a crazy bump. He's done the falling through the chairs. That guy's just willing to throw himself through anything for a good pop and to progress the match. And there wasn't too many spots like that, but the message did get across. Like I said, I was not a friend of the friendship angle, and this just pretty much redeems Owens for losing the match to Goldberg and really establishing him back as a vicious heel who will stop at nothing and will just run through people who you thought that he cared about. But I thought that the ending was pretty good. There was the pop-up powerbomb a couple of times, so you really couldn't end it with that. The vicious apron powerbomb and then hitting him in the middle of the ring. I thought that was a pretty fitting finish. You definitely had to have Owens win this match. One, because Jericho may be leaving soon to do his thing with his band, and Owens really needed momentum after the title being taken from him. And
26 seconds.
Yeah, he can't follow Obscure. He's too talented to fall to the bottom of the ranks. So it's nice to see him back with a title reign. Hopefully he keeps it for a while, and I'm excited to see what comes of this.
I had the idea a while ago of doing Sami Zayn after just finishing this Jericho feud. They keep saying it's the last of Zayn and Owens, and then they go right back to it, which is fine because they put on great matches, and I think Zayn kind of needs something to get his ball rolling there. So I like that potential future feud, but it's the right decision to put the title on Owens. What'd you give that match, by the way?
I gave it a B.
Wow, lower than me, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't like I said. There weren't too many high-profile spots. It was a good back and forth action. It pretty much went straight forward. Owens did get the victory. Owens put his mark. He was brought back to his vicious heel that we saw when he first came in, when he destroyed Cena. And I just think that he can do wonders for the company, and Jericho being a good guy and putting over his friend, I think that big things will come for Owens. And once the second world title ring comes around, you better watch out because that one's going to be epic.
Do you know what happens when you give that grade or that match a grade lower than me?
What happens?
You just made the list.
Kevin Owens doesn't care. He rips up the list.
Had to do it. It's very late. I'm delirious. The next match was the Raw Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way Elimination match.
I'm not like most girls.
between Bayley, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Nia Jax. And yes, he's been singing that all day. A little surprised they went with this match right after. Like I said, the placement of this card was very weird to me. This crowd's getting tired at this point. I was getting tired. But anyway, I actually liked the entrances to this one. Bayley had some pyro, which was new for her. Sasha Banks rolling down in a car, which looked like a Model T, which was a little
like a boss.
Like a boss. And Charlotte getting that WrestleMania 24 Flair pyro with that peacock robe. That was cool. I like that. This one actually was pretty similar to the NXT tag match from TakeOver, where they teamed up on the Monster, which was Nia Jax. They had a couple cool spots with a triple powerbomb ending up eliminating Nia Jax first. And then during which Charlotte untied the turnbuckle, the second turnbuckle, exposing it, the exposed turnbuckle, as it would be. And then Sasha went for the roll-up. Charlotte kicked out, propelling Sasha right into the exposed turnbuckle, and Charlotte pinning her to eliminate Sasha Banks, becoming Charlotte versus Bayley. A couple decent spots. Bayley hit a German suplex from the top, which looked a little dangerous, but got her over, and it was all right. Then she hit the Macho Man elbow as a tribute to one of her idols, Macho Man Randy Savage, and that was the end of it. And she retains the WWE Women's Championship. I thought it was a decent match. I think the crowd was a little low because of the last two matches. I think they just weren't. They were tired for this, so they had to cool down a little bit, and that's unfortunate because I thought they put on a pretty decent show. I thought it also lacked a little bit because Bayley retained the title and didn't win her first title. I've been saying this since January. They should have not had her win on Raw. They should have kind of kept it and made that moment hers at WrestleMania. It would have added something to the moment instead of just retaining. I think it kind of killed her momentum a little bit there. I gave it a B. It was enjoyable. There wasn't anything like special. Last year's Triple Threat was better. But it was good. I just think the crowd was kind of tired from it, and they needed a little bit of a break there. And I don't think this was the right spot to do it, but it was good. What'd you think?
I was so on it. Nia was eliminated early in a group powerbomb fashion, and then there was a 3-woman pin pile up to keep Nia down, which keeps her strong. I get it. And then Charlotte goes to dirty heel tactics, throws Sasha into the exposed turnbuckle. And then down goes her, and it's just Charlotte and Bayley. And personally, I would have liked to have seen. I know everyone was talking about a possible Sasha heel turn, but even if you're still gonna have Bayley win, have Bayley win over Sasha, and then
I can see that. That would make sense. And Sasha gets a little jealous and comes back and costs her a match or something. But yeah, I could see that. That would have been an option.
Yeah, it's true, but I could see why they probably wouldn't go that way because in order to save face on that, Bayley would have to win, and then Sasha would have to attack her like immediately after if you were going to do it. So I think that keeping Sasha and Bayley one-on-one, keeping that away from the main event finale, I think that it protects that and it saves it for another pay-per-view. And
they're building it till SummerSlam, so you have 4 months, so you don't have to do.
Yeah, you don't have to expose all the cards just yet. And Bayley going over Charlotte, I mean, pretty much, I would assume that 80% of the people watching it would have assumed that Charlotte was going to breeze through Bayley and eventually capture her 5th title.
I thought Bayley was gonna win going up till Raw, and then when Charlotte got pinned, it changed my mind. So in my prediction video on Exposed Turnbuckle, if you want to just watch it, even though the results are already out, I picked Charlotte. It's one of those I kind of got distracted by the by Raw, and I originally had Bayley, so I'm not as shocked as you are. But yeah, it's a little shocking. Like I said, just I think the win was taken out of her sails there because she won it earlier.
What I would see going with this is now Bayley's going to have to feud. I would like to see Nia get a little bit of a push.
It's probably be Nia.
I would like to see Nia just really run through Bayley and just start tearing through and kind of get her reign rolling because I feel like Nia and Strowman were both pushed around like the same time with those squash matches, and Strowman rose right to the top, and Nia was just like, nah, like she didn't have any reaction whatsoever. I mean, yeah, she was running through people, but none of her moves were spectacular. She wasn't cutting great promos, but she really needs to just start tearing through and being the monster that they really built her up to be to begin with to really start her reign.
I think she could win the championship and kind of have a little bit of a run there until someone kind of defeats her in some sort of fashion. I don't really know at this time, but
it builds up another good face for the women's division. Took down the big bad Nia Jax and progress from there. Nia is a big heel. She can feud with anybody. So.
And just one quick moment from this match. I'd be remiss to not mention it. That corkscrew moonsault from Charlotte to the outside.
Crazy.
She topped herself. Basically, last year she did a moonsault and it really almost stole the show. This one, she did a moonsault with a little bit of flair, pun intended. Had a little corkscrew to it, and it was a hell of a spot. And I just want to be able to mention that because she deserves that recognition for that spot. She's a crazy athlete. That was awesome. So, rightfully so, the WWE put the Hall of Fame presentation in between this match and then the next match because the crowd just needed to have that second to just regroup.
It was certainly a haul, man, throughout this whole pay-per-view. Towards like about the third to last match, I was struggling. I had to pound through an energy drink real quick just to get back into it.
Yeah, so they needed to put this there. Not to say those guys are a step down, but it's a little break from the action. It just kind of gets people back into a zone, which is good because the next match was the Raw Tag Team Championship ladder match. Enzo and Cass came out, did their little promo. Big pop for Enzo and Cass. The crowd loves these guys. You don't like them as much, but they're over. They were my pick.
And you can't teach that.
They were my pick going in, but that changed shortly after, and I'll get into that in 1 second. Sheamus and Cesaro came right out after, and then Anderson and Gallows, the champions, came out. They're about to set up for the match, and then New Day's music hits. In wrestling gear, not in their other gear that they were earlier in the show. And teasing their as the hosts, they're here to announce there's a fourth team. I think a lot of people kind of knew where this was going.
But who?
But who? Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. That fucking thing. Yeah, so they were in wrestling gear trying to push the fact that it was a new day coming, but I think everyone kind of had an inkling. And then play the music. The Hardy Boys are back. They're not the Broken Hardys. They are the Hardy Boys.
Team Extreme.
Matt Hardy still looks broken, which is good.
He did mat it down though. It's all slickened. It's not frizzed out.
It's a little more WWE Hardy this time, but that place absolutely exploded when that music played. So it just goes to show, even if you kind of know what's coming, it's still a crazy moment for them. And then sure enough, the match started and Hardys went to town. There was a double poetry motion right to start on Enzo and Cass. The other guys had their good spots. There was a power bomb on Cass on a leaning ladder. Eventually, Sheamus and Cesaro ended up being on ladders that were bridged outside. And as Matt Hardy was climbing with Anderson, he had a twist of fate off the ladder, which was a cool spot. But just as he was doing that, you saw Jeff Hardy on the outside setting up a massive ladder. And you knew what was coming. And he hit the swanton on both Sheamus and Cesaro through two ladders, even though one didn't break. And Sheamus just kind of rolled off. But that was a crazy spot. And then Matt Hardy climbed the ladder, and we have new Raw Tag Team champions, the Hardy Boys. This was just a hot start because of the Hardys returning. That place was going nuts. It was a great ladder match, and mostly due to the Hardys being there. Let's be honest. I think the triple threat would have been fine. I think they still would have done some good things, but the Hardys are the ladder match kings. So it really added something to it and got people excited. I thought the match got a B+ for me, and that was largely due to the Hardys because they had a lot of the big spots in that match. It was a hell of a moment, and hopefully the Hardys can do something on Raw. So we'll see. What did you think?
I thought it was all right. I thought it was a decent little ladder match. Definitely not one of the Hardy Boys' top 3 ladder matches of all time, but I mean the Hardy Boys are just so over right now. I mean there were chants of delete. It was thunderous. It was loud when they just came rumbling down. And they just started hitting the ropes, and they just started going to town and killing everybody.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there a Ring of Honor championship match on Saturday, a ladder match?
They're on their expedition of gold, man.
They're just climbing the ladder, so to speak.
They're just taking out everybody. Matt Hardy doing the twist of fate off the ladder. Jeff Hardy doing the swanton bomb. Granted, he did not hit Sheamus, but Sheamus did his best to just kind of roll over and just get out of the camera and go over it.
He did it.
But it was a great pop. I'm excited to see what they have with the Hardy Boys. It will be definitely interesting to watch on Raw. I would hope that they would start with him, but
with who? Sorry, I missed it.
With the Hardy Boys. But I think
to start Raw, no.
I think basically what they would have to do is they're gonna have to wait until all the legalities are worked out with the broken gimmick. But it's definitely coming.
Paul Heyman's starting Raw. And we'll get to that later.
Paul Heyman.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
We all know his name. Yeah. I think everyone did their part. Sheamus and Cesaro had some good chemistry. Loved the matching suits. They did a great job with that. Yeah, the kilts. The suit kilts. And then they were really good. Starting out, you never would have thought that they would have been a good tag team, but they actually have pretty good chemistry. It's not a lot for them to do in the singles division, so just put them together and see what happens. Overall, I gave it a B. A lot of the big spots were because of the Hardys. I don't think that the other teams really did too much to wow. They didn't really have a lot
got
of
some offense in, which is rare, but he got some offense in.
Enzo was building it up. Going into it, obviously, we didn't know the Hardy Boys would be here, but everyone kind of assumed that Enzo and Cass. So in that aspect, I am glad because
you did not like them.
It's just that I don't.
Over.
They are over, but it would just be better if they split up. Because
no. I'm gonna interrupt you because I'm gonna disagree. Because Cass can't talk, so him by himself it won't work. and Enzo can't really wrestle as well. So with him by himself, it's not going to work. So they need each other. They have to be a tag team.
Or just give Enzo an injury angle. So Enzo
that is real.
So Enzo is just Cass's single manager for a while, and then just let it run, and let Cass have his, have his title run. Wow.
He actually had a WWE Universal Championship match when Enzo was hurt, so that makes
sense. He's built to go. Enzo holds him back a little bit. If his promo skills weren't off the charts, I don't think he'd be roster. Let's be honest. He's Ellsworth, but he's a hell of a lot.
No, he's better than Ellsworth. Let's stop there. He's better than that. They just don't. No, I was going to stop you there. We're going to move on because this could go on forever. So the next match, we had a lot of network issues tonight. So
WWE Network was not on point.
It was lagging all night and closing.
Not a second of lag on the Pitbull concert though.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that. But so it was from this point on, actually, after the Hardys ladder match, that really started to stress me out. It was
This is where the grades went.
Yeah, and also when the grades went down. So we had the John Cena, Nikki Bella versus Miz and Maurice mixed tag match. I saw some of it. We missed the entrances because of the network. I know you have strong feelings on this, so I'm going to let you go first.
All right, so Miz and Maurice come out, and then Nikki comes out, does her booty roll, possibly one last time.
Maybe.
Goes down, gets about halfway down. Cena comes out. Cena jogs down, catches up with Nikki. They both enter, and then they pretty much just start going to town. Nikki does a suicide dive on the Miz.
That's a pretty good spot.
Miz and Maurice laid out for a double 5-knuckle shuffle.
Which is every match on SmackDown they've had.
Nikki and Cena combined for a double finisher.
Same thing.
Double count by the ref, both hands simultaneously. Squash complete.
Yeah, I don't know how long that lasted.
Buried.
I don't know how long that lasted.
Minimal offense. And I just think they spent so much time building this feud up. I mean, you could have thrown us a little bit of a match.
In all fairness, this thing went on 7 hours, so I'm okay now.
They were
at the time I was actually a little upset, but now I'm okay that went shorter.
But I mean, when you're 7 hours and 11 minutes in, what's an extra 10 minutes? Seriously,
a lot. You go to work later.
Miz and Maurice clear out. John Cena starts going on a story about Nikki. How he was telling her stuff, how he asked him a question, and now he has to ask it again. And here comes the moment.
He would propose when she's under, anesthesia, by the way.
Cena drops to his knees, and he must have beat up that girl from the Titanic, because the blue diamond was inside that box. So personally, I think that the match went so quickly, because I think that Nikki wanted to save her body, and John Cena simply just did not want the ring to fall out of his shorts. I don't think he wanted any spot to
shorts all this time.
He did not want any spot where that ring was going to come out and ruin the surprise. So.
I do think the match was shorter because of Nikki Bella's injury. She did a suicide dive, which shocked me because she just got hurt with her neck. She was cleared, but I think it's clear that she's going to take some time off here along with Cena. The match got a D for me. It wasn't anything. It was bad.
I personally gave it a C minus because
it was a SmackDown match.
But you have the WrestleMania moment.
Again, let me get to that. The match got a D for me. The moment got an A because it was a real moment. I mentioned in the prediction video to kids now that's going to be what we think of when we think of Macho Man and Elizabeth in WrestleMania. I believe it was 7. I might be wrong. It's pretty late. So we think of that as the moment. They got together. That was awesome. Really emotional. Kids who cheer for John Cena now in 20 years are going to think of that moment. So the moment itself was awesome. I have no bad things to say about that. That got an A. The match itself got a D. So the entire thing together, you're right, probably a C. But I wanted to split them up because it's two different things. This entire match was set up for that moment.
Yeah, it was more of a moment than it was a match.
Which is a little disappointing that The Miz was involved, but with Maurice tie-in, it made sense to get Nikki and John their match and their moment. So hopefully they have something better for Miz going into next year. But for this, it is what it is. I think the match was terrible. Roman was great. That simple.
Pretty much, yeah.
So we're going to go on to the unsanctioned match of Seth Rollins versus Triple H, and I always love the term unsanctioned match because they're like, it's not a company match, it's not going down in the books, but we're going to give you a referee. So you can do, there is a finish of the match, we're going to give you a referee, but it doesn't count. That's my favorite thing. Triple H, epic entrance, as always. He had a police escort with a motorcycle that Undertaker would be very, very jealous of. And
way better than last year.
American
way
Badass.
better than last year.
And Steph. Whew. Anyway, we're going to move on from that. And then Seth Rollins' music hits, and took a little bit. We were actually determining whether he was going to come from behind because they didn't want him to go down that entire ramp. And by the way, I think a lot of people did car entrances because they just didn't want to walk 80 yards.
80 yards from the top of the ramp to the ring. That is quite the
I would have chosen the car. Be like, hell yeah, let's give me the car. But he came out with a torch and then put the torch to the ground, and it set a fire down the ramp into the ring. I thought that was a really cool little visual. He's the Kingslayer, as his new shirt says, and he had that Lion King type promo of "I'm gonna kill the king" type thing. So it was cool. This was a match where we didn't know what the limitations were, really. We knew it was a legit injury. They really protected him by doing more injury angles on Raw, and you just really didn't know what he had in him. And we got that answered. Rollins had a lot in him. His knee looked pretty good. Expectedly, Triple H targeted the knee multiple times during this match and had a few chair shots, a concerto on the announce table. Also, he reversed a pedigree on the announce table into a DDT where the table didn't break.
That did not break.
That looked
that
rough.
Table did not break.
Eventually, we got to the end, and actually, before I get to the end, there was a really innovative spot, in my opinion, where he had a knee lock on Rollins on the outside. He tried to grab a chair and throw it on Triple H. It didn't break the hold. Then he was reaching under the ring to grab something to break the hold, and he just kind of tossed a sledgehammer right next to Triple H.
Casually to Triple H's left.
And it distracted Triple H, ooh, the sledgehammer. And, it was a cool way to break up a submission, I thought. It was something a little new, tempt him a little bit to break the hold.
Here you go, you want it?
Exactly, it's that, what's that, Geico commercial, you almost got it, that one.
I got your dollar.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was a little innovative. I enjoyed that, but ultimately we got to the end of the match. Triple H was running toward Rollins. Rollins ducked and almost hit Steph. Triple H almost hit Steph. Turned around into a super kick. Stunned Triple H. He fell into Steph, and Steph went through a table. Another credit to a McMahon just willing to put it on for the business, because last year she took a spear from Reigns. This year she went through a table. She just does it. What's best? So what's best for business, if you will. I like the ending, and then Rollins hit the pedigree and won. I wish he wouldn't use the pedigree anymore, honestly, but it is what it is. You can't use the curb stomp anymore, so until he gets something else, pedigree's what we got. This was a great match to me. I gave it a B+. I thought it was right under the KO Jericho match. I think those were 1 or 2 and 3, pretty even, right below AJ and Shane. I really liked everything. I was very surprised and pleasantly surprised with how much Rollins could do on that knee. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Rollins does next. I imagine a feud with Samoa Joe. Very surprised Samoa Joe didn't make an appearance here, but I know this was a match you really liked. So what'd you think?
I actually did enjoy this a lot. I think that the underdog story was very well told. You definitely got behind Rollins emotionally. You wanted to see him win. He kept coming back, and then he kept getting sidelined again, and you really wanted the place. Nobody would have been happy to see Triple H, and I think that's really what wrestling is about. If you get somebody emotionally invested, even though you know that matches are scripted, but you just can't have it any other way, that he has to win or else the match is garbage. that's really what gets you as a fan. And I think that the story was really well told. Triple H really did focus on that knee a lot, and Rollins did a lot of spots, as I mentioned to Jeff during the pay-per-view. Pretty much anything Rollins did offensively or Triple H did offensively had heavy influence on Rollins' knee, whether it was getting attacked or Rollins was landing on it. I think there was a spot where Rollins did 2 suicide dives and landed on his feet for both of them. So I think that shows the durability of his knee right there. And, the Steph got involved trying to keep him down, and Rollins ends up getting them both. Steph goes through the table, so the McMahons were definitely on their table game tonight. And he pedigrees the king, gets his redemption, he gets the win, and he has steam going post-Mania. And I think that something big should be planned from. It was surprised. Pretty much everybody on the wrestling reviews and predictions, they were all expecting some kind of Samoa Joe Finn Balor, and it was just such a believable place to put him because they weren't on, and in fact they did not show up at all.
The fact that Samoa Joe was not on this card or in the show at all is just, it's honestly not right, but it is what it is.
Nope, he's the Destroyer who's apparently not good enough to get on Mania.
No, not yet. At least it'll be a few with Rollins. I think that's the most obvious one. Rollins goes after the guy who injured him.
Maybe they're saving that spot for tomorrow on Raw, where they kind of do something along those lines, where Triple H is just kicking the crap out of Rollins in the back, and then the Samoa Joe and Finn Balor thing happens to get a double pop to get that Raw boost.
I'm calling it now. There's going to be a tag match between Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe versus Seth Rollins and the return of Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. Calling it now, or tonight because it's past midnight. It's going to happen. Mark it down. Anyway,
started Sunday afternoon into the wee hours of Monday morning.
This is the times I wish I was on the West Coast. Anyway, a lot of near falls. That was a good match.
Yeah, I gave this match an A-. I thought it was arguably one of my most favorite ones because I was so emotionally invested, and I think both of them did a really good job.
Is that your match of the night?
I would argue that was one of the matches. I definitely enjoyed it more than Shane and Styles, but people would disagree. But I personally was a little bit more invested into this one rather than the quickly put together Shane versus AJ feud.
I will agree that this was the best, as far as in match, the best storytelling of the night. I think the other matches were good, but this one really told the story better than I think any other match. We're going to move on to the WWE Championship match, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. This was interesting, to say the least. Bray Wyatt did his spots where he would hang from the corner upside down, and multiple times an image of bugs would appear, maggots, crickets, whatever, on the ring canvas. Playing mind games. It was cheesy.
I knew something along those lines. What I was saying building up to Mania was I said that there's going to be some kind of Sister Abigail, some kind of supernatural influence. And Jeff laughed at me, but maybe Sister Abigail didn't come out, but something along that line
did happen. You said Sister Abigail was going to be a ghost. Let's
Sister Abigail coming back as a ghost, random bugs on the mat.
Let's say what it was.
It was something cheesy.
It was absolutely cheesy. I just wasn't a fan of it, honestly. It was the first time I was like, "What the hell is that?" And then they kept doing it. And it was
had to have the mystique of Wyatt to help overcome Orton because Orton didn't know what he was getting himself into, and Wyatt is something else.
One time was like okay, and then they did it 2 and 3 times.
I don't know why they changed it though. I mean, they could have just kept like the maggots
bugs in the dirt.
They could have just kept maggots and just made them more like dirtier and grosser. Like, why would you just pan out to crickets? Like,
equal opportunist bug guy, Bray Wyatt. Okay. Anyway, this is when the network started going off. So we actually didn't even see the finish. We just heard the audio say RKO. Randy Orton wins.
RKO out of nowhere.
Exactly what the call was. So we saw the replay eventually, but. This is when we started to get a little frustrated. So Randy Orton wins with the RKO. To me, not the right decision. Bray Wyatt's reign should have lasted a lot longer than this. Hopefully, there's some sort of feud with him staying involved, because I don't know what he's going to do unless he feuds with Luke Harper, which always possible. I wouldn't mind that. To me, like, I want him in the title picture, but if it's a good story, I'm okay with it. This just was a disappointing match, man. I just did not like it. I thought it was going to be a lot better, and it just didn't deliver. I gave it a C minus, and that was generous for me. I honestly don't know why. Thinking back to it, I'd probably drop it to a D plus. There were some decent spots, like I believe Orton. There was a Sister Abigail I saw again. I only saw bits and pieces because it kept going out, but the RKO on the outside, just a couple good things, but it just wasn't anything. And when you talk about WrestleMania 33, you're just not going to talk about this match.
I think this was constituted as one of the lower performing matches as well. Random special effects had to help it to get over
Didn't help it.
Bray Wyatt's twisted side, but Orton winning just doesn't make any sense. I mean, Bray had to work so long, and you're just gonna shoulder it to like an old face. I mean, when Orton won that title, you could barely hear the crowd. The crowd was just, yeah, whatever.
They could have been going off the Rollins Triple H thing and at an extreme high too, so it might be a combo of them being a little tired and then.
I mean, maybe, what it looks to me is just that Vince just wasn't sold on the Wyatt thing leading his SmackDown brand, and the title returns to a familiar shoulder as Orton is your new heavyweight champion. Again, as if we haven't seen this enough. I mean, one would hope that he would drop it to a rising star soon. I mean, I can't imagine this being a long run, but I think it was just wrong. I don't think he should have pulled the plug on Wyatt quite yet, because I think he was doing a decent job. I mean, he was forced essentially into this Orton storyline. So, I mean, you could have at least let him maybe put over Luke Harper, or you could have had something along those lines after this match. But now, who knows what he's going to do.
I mean, it's probably a transitional thing, and the Royal Rumble winner wins it again type stat line. You could see Randy Orton dropping it to Luke Harper, because they had kind of a feud there going during that Harper thing, and they kind of just, or Wyatt thing, and they just stopped.
No Luke Harper or Eric Rowan either.
No, Luke Harper was in the Battle Royal.
He was, but no
Eric Rowan. But you could put Luke Harper in there, because that kind of battle between Orton and Harper didn't really end, or it just ended. Didn't really have a good ending to it. So maybe Luke Harper beats him for the championship, but then you have Luke Harper for against Bray Wyatt for the championship. That's always a possibility, I guess. Either way, I think we both agree that this just disappointed.
Yeah, D plus.
Arguably could be one of. I tweeted it out at J_McMahon if you're following on Twitter. I tweeted out that I think it could have been one of the most underwhelming and disappointing WWE Championship Mania matches ever. It just was bad. It was up there with Triple H and Randy Orton from 25. It just wasn't that good. So when people make lists of bad matches, I think you got to put it there. And I like Bray Wyatt and I like Randy Orton. It is what it is.
Yeah, a lot of build up, not a lot of follow through.
Speaking of bad matches, the next match.
This transitions well.
The next match, WWE Universal Championship between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. This one you can pretty much take 5 words to explain. Spear, jackhammer, suplex city, F5. Lesnar is your new champion, and that it cut out actually, so I don't know the exact time because I had the stopwatch out. But I don't believe it made it to 5 minutes. I had some strong words for this one. Goldberg to me is just a joke of a wrestler. That's strong, I know, but all he does is a spear and a jackhammer. That's it. And yes, I know what you're expecting, and it is what we expected. A lot of spears, a jackhammer, and then we have Lesnar kicking out of the jackhammer after 4 spears, one through a barricade, which makes no sense, by the way, because it only took 1 spear and 1 jackhammer to beat him in a minute in Survivor Series. But no continuation off that. So obviously Goldberg.
Yeah, just end it.
Yeah, Goldberg's over 6 months, his spear and jackhammer became severely less powerful. The match got a D. It's worse than the Wyatt match for me. I just hate watching Goldberg matches. It's boring. That's all it is.
Goldberg,
so the only thing I got to say about this one is Goldberg can just get off my TV. Bye. I'm done with them. Go ahead.
All right, so I was a little bit more ambitious and polite to this match. I thought it was good for what it was. We all knew Goldberg was going to lose. Goldberg even possibly leaked it out on Twitter when a fan asked him what he was doing after Mania, and he said he's taking some time off to reflect. So that's not really a fighting champion's mentality.
Maybe you should reflect on just a third move. Forget new moves.
Goldberg did a traditional his locker room entrance. The crowd was not really over. The crowd was
booing.
They were raining boos on him. I think his 15 minutes was up. I think.
But then they chanted Goldberg in the and go ahead.
Oh, now I will get to that.
Yeah, go
ahead. Lesnar opens with a bunch of German suplexes. Goldberg spears him twice. Lesnar rolls to the outside, then Goldberg spears him through the barricade. And this was a great spot. I mean, with Goldberg, you got two tricks. You got the spear, you got the jackhammer, and then you have the random face twitching. I mean, that essentially
and the
is
duck
Goldberg.
Face stare down.
And then you have pyro. Gotta have the pyro. But ultimately, there was nothing for Goldberg to throw out. I mean, I was honestly surprised that it lasted that long. Goldberg hit him with about 4 spears, couldn't put him down. Goldberg hit him with a jackhammer, and I can't even remember the last time that somebody kicked out of a jackhammer. So that was cool to see. Me growing up on WCW, I've always followed Goldberg, and his time was up. Yeah, his time was up. He's a digital watch. How does that go?
I don't know. He's just bad.
Yeah. There's no analogy to save him.
He's not a good wrestler. He's
outdated. He had his moment. His body just can't match up to the intensity and the aura that he once was. And this Lesnar threw the beat down on him. He got his manhood back in a way.
Speaking of Beast, I have to give Lesnar credit. He leapfrogged a spear. I was like, holy crap! I haven't seen that athleticism from Lesnar in a long time. That was pretty cool to actually see. I'll give him that. That was probably the best part of the match for me. Seeing him just leapfrog a spear, I was like, wow, okay. Because he would have kicked out of the 5th spear anyway, because Goldberg's spear is apparently not as powerful as it used to be. But anyway,
not like Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns.
Well, apparently it wasn't that strong tonight either. So the spear stock went way down at WrestleMania 33. But yeah, bad match for me. You have it a little better, but it still wasn't good.
Yeah, it was what it was. Lesnar gets the title, and we'll see where it goes from there. And Goldberg got his second 15 minutes of fame. He should count his blessings. It strictly came from a video game. Goldberg was never in talks to return, and the Goldberg fantasy match hyped it up and basically churned him out probably like $1 million more to his career. So it was what it was, and
we've talked about Goldberg too much.
Goldberg.
At this point, it was almost 11, I think. Actually, it was past 11, and a lot of people were thinking.
And a lot of viewing time, and the last few matches haven't been all that great, so the energy is just definitely going down.
Yeah, and a lot of people were thinking the SmackDown Women's title match went from going off the kickoff show to being cut. It was just running that late, but the benefits of being on the network, they can go as long as they want. And there it was, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, the 6-pack challenge with Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, Becky Lynch, Naomi, Carmella, and Natalya. Not much really to talk about here. Huge pop for Naomi in her hometown, as expected. I thought a couple good spots with Becky Lynch trifecta exploder suplex, countering a no chin music from Ellsworth, much to JBL's delight. She had that exploder suplex. And my personal favorite spot of the match was Natalya doing a double sharpshooter on Carmella and Naomi. That I've never seen a double sharpshooter, so that was pretty cool. Ends up being Naomi, wins back the title in her hometown with a crucifix type submission. I didn't catch the name of it. Overall, I thought the match was kind of average. I think it almost seemed like they were on a time limit just because of how long all the other matches were going. There were a few good spots, but it was like a C minus to me. I don't really know what the future is going to be for Naomi. So I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of women on that roster, and might be able to see a debut. I don't think anyone's ready, but you never know. Naomi is the new women's champion on SmackDown, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I was very on this match as well. It did seem rushed. Talia did have the spot of the night with the double sharpshooter. She struggled to lock it in, but she got it in.
It's hard with 4 feet and
Yeah,
4 legs.
The fact that she even tried to think of that, that was a cool spot.
I think that can only be done with the women, by the way.
The hometown returning girl got her extended entrance, and she got her moment at WrestleMania. And there weren't really a lot of spots to talk about.
I'm glad for Naomi. She's done a lot over her career, so I'm glad she got that WrestleMania moment for herself. That was good. I'm a big fan of Alexa Bliss, but I'm okay with Naomi winning this one.
I gave this match a D, by the way. Just nothing really too exciting.
I'm sure you're okay with Naomi. I think that's what your prediction was.
Yeah, Naomi wasn't bad. I mean, it was either going to be Alexa or Naomi. I didn't really see anybody else with enough momentum to take it. Becky Lynch is probably always a dark horse because I feel like she always has that title reign in her to just pop up at any moment. But it was never any doubt that it was either going to be Alexa or Naomi.
Yeah.
The other people just don't have enough momentum.
I wouldn't mind seeing Natalia get a run though. Hopefully that comes to fruition soon.
Carmella is get off my TV material. I mean,
I wouldn't go that far. Ellsworth can get off.
Get Carmella out of here.
But anyway, we're gonna go to the main event, which is much to Vince's delight. It's Roman Reigns versus Undertaker. Roman Reigns main eventing for the 3rd straight year. First off, before we get into the match, it was awesome to see Jim Ross back on WWE TV again. There's nothing like listening to him call a match. It instantly made it better just by listening to him, and that's just a sign of a legend. He was great to see, and I know you agree with that, especially off the week he's come off of.
Poor JR.
And
man.
Condolences from us to JR on the loss of his wife. That's a tragic incident. But it's definitely good to see him back. Hopefully we get to hear more of him in the future. It started off with absolute, and we both wrote it at the exact same time, thunderous boos for Roman Reigns. And Triple H is right. He's the best heel in this company, and it's not even close. And he's not a heel, but he is.
They're just presenting him a different way. I mean, they don't have to storyline wise turn him into a heel because he already has heel heat. So they can just do whatever the hell they want with him as a face, and he's still gonna draw heel heat. So I really don't know what you're complaining about, because if you need a reason to hate him, there's plenty. There's lots of people who think about it. He does not deserve the heel.
That's my favorite part, is that they complain that they need him to turn heel, but they boo him like a heel. It's like, well,
yeah, they're
not going to really turn him because you're booing him like a heel, so there's no need to turn him. So I mean, I think he's good in the ring. Honestly, he's not phenomenal, but he's good. He's got good matches. He hasn't really had a really terrible match. He's not great on the mic. So I mean, just because of that, everyone just turns against him, and of course, they're pushing him down our throats, which can get annoying, but at the same time, I think it's gone a little overboard, and they're booing him like a heel, so he's a heel. It is what it is.
Superman punch!
Before the match started, it was changed to a no-holds-barred match, which I thought was interesting. It definitely changed the complexion of the match, and I actually thought it was a good idea because it made it, I think, a little better given Undertaker's limited abilities here. There was a lot of cool entrance from The Undertaker, which, by the way, took longer than the Goldberg-Lesnar match in total. That was a little fun fact I saw on Twitter. Taker had his trademarks, as expected. He countered the Superman punch into a choke slam on the announce table, which we didn't see live because the network went out again. Reigns ended up countering and spearing Taker through the Spanish announce table, which I joked was the longest the Spanish announce table has ever lasted in a pay-per-view. So we set records there. Taker hit a last ride during another trademark during the match. Taker hit a tombstone. Reigns kicked out at 2. At this point, I kind of knew what the result was going to be. Then it became Reigns hitting Taker with a chair. Repeatedly, Taker keep getting up. Reigns would hit a Superman punch. He would get up, spear, kick out, spear, kick out. Like I said, the spear stock went way down tonight. Reigns would just keep hitting chair shots, kick out, and then he hit a third spear and another kick out. And then Reigns did a little variation on the spear and did kind of a running start, bouncing off the ropes a few times, and then hitting a super spear, as I called it.
Super spear!
That was the 1-2-3 Roman Reigns beating Taker, and this was the end of an era. I think we all know this is the last Undertaker match, and me personally, a very emotional moment. Undertaker's always been one of my favorites. We've been watching him. I'm now 28. So basically, since can remember, I've been watching this guy. So it's a very emotional moment for me. The match itself, I gave a C plus. I thought it was a decent match. Undertaker just doesn't have it left in him, and it really pains me to say that, but I think it's pretty clear. At the end of the match, he left his gloves, his coat, and his hat after doing one last eye roll back in the middle of the ring to kind of call it a career. Then he disappeared into the night and the gong went off to end WrestleMania. I think it's something that I think we all need to appreciate what we saw. Undertaker's had a hell of a career, and he could be a Hall of Famer next year, as soon as next year, and no one would complain. He deserves it, and I thought it was a pretty well done. Good for Roman Reigns for just walking out back, doing the pyro thing, and just
as he should.
Yeah, and Roman Reigns, he knows the situation, and I'm sure he's very honored to be part of that moment. And being Undertaker's last match, I think that's something he won't ever take lightly. And obviously JR being there made it a little more special. So I thought it was all right. It was a decent main event. The fans went home somewhat happy just because you got to see Taker's last moment and you got to thank him properly.
Yeah, I thought this match was done really well. Undertaker was on the offense early, taking it to Reigns, and then Reigns came on heavy at the end. Lots of chair shots, lots of spears, lots of Superman punches, but Undertaker just wouldn't stay down, and Reigns, towards the end of the match, after every near count, he would go to the corner and he just looked puzzled, like he didn't know how to take him down. Like, what else could he possibly do? And they pan to the Undertaker, and he's struggling. There was one point where he tries to sit up, and then he just falls back down. He can't do it anymore. At the end, he's doing the Rocky Apollo Creed, and he's struggling to get up, holding the ropes, pulling himself up, and then Roman Reigns does the double round spear to really just put the nail in his coffin. And I think Reigns did a really good job. He did as well as he could to win and not be entirely booed out of the building. Because honestly, I really didn't even think that I thought the reaction would be like 10 times worse, but really just a look on Reigns' face, it was like he knew he had to do the dirty deed of putting down the Undertaker, and nobody really wants to be that guy that puts him down for the final time, but he knew that it was something that he had to do, so he came in and he defended his yard. It's Roman Reigns' world, and we just live in it. So
now this video's gone on for a pretty good amount of time. Just really quick, your thoughts on the Undertaker and his career, because that's really what this was about.
I think it was, iconic. He was infamous for his promos and his entrance and the casket matches and the gimmicks and the urns and the pallbearers and the Yokozunas. So, you could really just talk forever. He even had a gimmick change where he was the American Badass for a while.
And then returned. How hard it is to return to a gimmick.
Still got there, He maxed out his life, and maybe he should have went out a couple of years ago, but he went until the wheels literally fell off, and so we should all respect the amount of years and dedication and all the input and thought that he's put into this company to truly make it what it is today.
Well said. So real quick, we're pretty long time into this video. Just real quick, overall grade, I gave it a B. There are a lot of really good matches. Definitely better than last year's WrestleMania. possibly better than 31. Not really as good as 30, but it's probably been one of the better ones. Very entertaining. A few duds in there, which are a little disappointing, but that knocks it down a little bit. But I was entertained tonight. It was a good show for me.
I thought it was good. I also gave it a B. I thought that the high points, I thought there was a really high ceiling. There weren't a lot of terrible matches. I mean, the couple of dud matches really stood out. It kind of dampened it to preventing it from being an A show, but I thought it was better than I thought going in. I think everyone did a really good job. I think the stories all had a fairly fitting ending. I mean, nobody wants to see the Undertaker go down on his last match, but Reigns logically he can't lose that match. He's got to pass the torch. I mean, Undertaker can't just take it with him.
He's traditional. He'll put it over the guy.
Yeah, he's got to put it over. And I mean, if they do have the Reigns heel in the back pocket, they can always go to that card and. I buried the dead man for one last time. That's instantly going to enrage the crowd. So overall, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, so that was our WrestleMania 33 review. For all those who stuck through us through this entire video, it's a long show, so the review just ends up being long. We do appreciate it. Follow or subscribe to us on the Exposed Turnbuckle and watch all of our videos. We're hopefully going to put out a lot during the week, trying to review every Raw and SmackDown. Hopefully we can get those out to you. But if you like the product and the content that we're putting out, share it with your friends who follow wrestling.
Give it one of these.
Give it a like, of course, and have them subscribe as well. So we'll hopefully put out more content, and we do appreciate you sticking with us through this long review. It is a long night, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the show as much as we did. Any words?
Nope. I think my co-host said it really good, and you guys have a great night.